that I love the most. I don't know if you can guess that color, but it's my
Uh,
favorite color in the world, and that is green. And
green,
she's
green.
rocking green.
Yes, Carlton, just for you, I'm rocking green. Carlton, good morning to you. Good morning to our listeners, of course, of Health Vibes who tune in every Wednesday morning for our program. Good morning to you, Carlton. Lando had to make me wear green today, especially in recognition of it being his favorite color and it being his birthday party theme that I wasn't aware of. So I had to do green today just for Mr. Langdo. So it's a green morning.
It is a green morning. And, I think when I look at green, I immediately think of life. I think of the
Mm,
forest. I think of vibrance.
mm-hmm.
I feel energy, and it's just something about green that just uplifts my spirit.
Yes.
And so when I see green, I get excited, and I guess I green. When
Yes,
I see
you
green, it
green.
gives me a green. But it's really a pleasure being here, and I did receive all of the love that you sent to me. It was overwhelming. I never
Mm-hmm.
recognized that I was so loved in Dominica.
Wow.
And I must say, on all media,
Mm-hmm.
DBS and QFM, Matt program Saturday was saturated with Carlton, Carlton,
Birthday
Carlton, Carlton,
wishes.
Carlton. Birthday wishes, and then Variety News put out a
Mm-hmm.
post for me, and it was just really, really good. I mean, don't even talk about my Facebook page.
Eh.
So I truly want to say thank you, thank you, thank you for making me look younger than I am,
Mhm.
and for really celebrating my life, my purpose, and also helping to build and develop my legacy, because
Mhm.
one of these days I will be gone,
Mhm.
and you will talk about me some way somehow. And so far so good. The journey has been a good one, and the sentiments expressed have been very encouraging, very uplifting, and I truly want to thank every one of you who took the time to call the radio station, to send a message, to express your kind sentiments one way or the other on social media. It was well received, and again, I say thank you, thank you, thank you.
Carlton, can you imagine people were so anxious to send you those greetings? They began on the day before the birthday.
Ah,
I listened to the radio. I listened to Matt's program on Friday morning, I believe, and I started hearing birthday greetings. I said, but am I the one that mistook the date? I said,
I,
no, but I'm not wrong. It's not yet June 1st. So the greetings started on Friday, actually, for you. And I'm so happy that, that was the outpouring of love that you received. Because as I always say, the time to do these things for people is when they are
I
alive.
know,
It's not at the funeral of
I
somebody
know.
that you need to showcase. I mean, yes, you can, but I'm saying it's best to
Hmm.
do it to let the person know whilst they are alive, so I'm very happy that that was how your birthday went and that all the love was expressed for you on that day and even before and even after.
I know. I was just coming across there, and
Yes,
somebody expressed again. So I guess I'm going to do like you. For the entire week, it's still my birthday.
you're right.
I'm still celebrating.
Right,
From
right.
after the 7th, then I will come down.
You'll calm down.
But it was a pleasure. Again, for those of you who know, I am now 50, so I am
Hmm.
now in the big league, as they call
Hmm.
it. The
Hmm.
big league. So truly, you have to give me my big respect
Big
there.
respect. Carlton is a big man now.
you know. And when I sat back, and I thought of, I said, many of the things that I wanted to accomplish, I did.
Hmm.
I wanted to make sure I have my own home
Hmm.
before 50. I got that. My career before 50, I got that. Children, I
Hmm.
got that. Married, I got that. So I
Yes.
think I've done a good job. You
Yes. You
understand?
did a
I've done a good
reflection
job.
and
So I really
you did
want to.
well.
Yes, and truly thanks for attending my birthday bash.
Yes.
We partied like rock stars, and we had fun. It was a real good vibes, and my wife really went all out,
Hmm. Hmm.
to celebrate me.
She
Enough
did.
about me now. Let me just remind you that customer appreciation is next month.
Yes.
It is, we've already planned everything. It is going to be very grand this year. It is the third week in July. So you want to basically put some nice marking on your calendar to
Mhm.
let you know that our customer appreciation week begins from the Sunday. Trudy, I hope that you'll be with us this year because every year we attend the church service as staff.
Okay.
This year we will be doing the Catholic Church in Kinfield,
Canefield.
right,
Okay.
that Sunday. And so all of our staff go to fellowship together at church and have breakfast afterwards and that type of thing. So it begins on that Sunday
Okay.
and ends on the Saturday,
Okay.
right?
So third week in
The
July.
third week in July. Every year it is the third week in July.
Okay.
Budget week. That's the week where the government goes to the house and distribute money
Mm.
for each ministry, that type of thing. And so it is our customer appreciation week. Expect some amazing things, including Portsmouth as well.
Mhm.
Portsmouth will not be forgotten at all. So Portsmouth, Mega, Rosos, all the branches will be celebrating our customer appreciation week, and of course we will be giving back to you. So begin to put the little money, maybe in your socks or in the freezer or underneath the bed or somewhere. I don't like putting money on the bed because that's one of the places thieves often go to
To
look.
look.
So
All
not on
right.
the bed, but
It's too obvious.
yeah, it's too obvious. There are some nicer ways I will share, maybe not here, but
Mhm.
I'll tell you where I would normally hide a little money if I have it home. You understand?
Mhm.
But we really want to again remind you of our customer appreciation coming up in the month of
July.
July, and that is the third week in July. So
S-
ensure that you have that schedule
Yes.
on your calendar.
Carlton, I know you'll come maybe in a subsequent show and give the
Oh,
schedule
yes.
of events, but I know personally, I hope what is returned to the schedule is the VIP
That is
experience.
there. That is there.
Yes.
And
So,
Portsmouth will have an edition this
oh,
year too.
nice. Yes,
So
because
that
I
is
know that
there.
is the signature of Customer Appreciation Week
Yes.
is the customers being made to feel like
Yes.
royalty essentially
Yes.
at the VIP
That is
experience.
there. The pets
So,
as well.
oh, the pet day is also there.
Yes.
Okay, so I know you'll give us the full schedule
Mhm.
in subsequent shows, but I know the customers of Jolly's Pharmacy, both old and new, and those who are coming on board, can look forward to a lot in that week.
Definitely. So we have a very packed show for you this morning. We will begin talking about education, and then subsequently we will be switching across to hurricane preparedness.
Mhm.
So what we're going to do, we're going to take a good break, and I'm so glad that I have my co-host who is an educator by profession.
Mhm.
So she'll master that area for me this morning. I might be able to ask her questions. So she might really be I will be the interviewer, and she'll be the interviewee. Is it?
Yes.
Yes. And so I will be quizzing her on some. We know that we're in the exam period. CXCs might be winding down,
Yes.
but we know the end of term exams and all of that is on its way. And so we will be giving some tips to parents and to pupils and students as to how you can excel in your exams and do well. So we're going to take a break and then we'll be right back with you on Health Vibes.
Oh, and if they say convenience could make a big difference, then you can trust me. I know just where you should be. And that is JP Mega, 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 Mega. One-stop shopping, Dominica, nigga. You could be shopping and having fun with your daughter or with your son. We cater to everyone. What a happy place, happy place. Oh, JP Mega, 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 Mega. The one-stop shopping, Dominica, nigga. You could be shopping and having fun. Bring Papa and Mama along. We cater to everyone. What a happy place, happy place. Oh, what a happy place. But just 6 or more of any item and you automatically qualify for discounts. Check us out at the Mega Store in Funkole where there's lots of parking. On Monday to Friday from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. On Saturdays from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. And on Sundays from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. JP Mega, the best family shopping experience.
Introducing Jolly's Pharmacy, brand new website. www.jollies.gm. It's your time to jump the line. Shop now at jollies.gm and have your items delivered in the comfort of your office. No more standing in line. No need to use your lunch hour to shop. Hassle-free shopping, safe and secure. Jollies.gm features rush delivery, 1 hour. In-store pickup, regular delivery, 5 p.m. Cut-off time, 4 p.m. It's your time to jump the line. Visit us at www.jollies.gm. Jollies Pharmacy, leading the way in healthcare.
Who say health cannot have vibes? Well, Jolly's Pharmacy is proving you otherwise. With Health Vibes, every Wednesday morning on Q95 from 10 a.m. to 11:30. Health Vibes, education, information, and a bit of humor. And not forgetting lots of vibes. Hosted by Carlton Lango, with co-hosts Jacinta Fagan Defo and Trudy Kristen. Jolly's Pharmacy is bringing health and vibes together every Wednesday, so be sure to tune in. Health Vibes every Wednesday on Q95 from 10 a.m. to 11:30. Jolly's Pharmacy, leading the way in healthcare.
So we're back with you. It's now 33 minutes, so as we would say 27 minutes before the hour of 11, and you are on Health Vibes. I see that a few of you want to call, but just hold your brakes a little. Just be patient with us. We really want to get the information out there because we know time runs so quickly, and so we will give you the signal as to the time that we would want you to call. But we want to begin talking about preparedness for exams. We know that it's a very stressful time for students, for teachers, for parents, for pupils who are about to do their final exams in preparation for promotion, where they'll be getting, some will be transiting to secondary school, some will be getting into primary school, from preschool to primary school, and some will be from high school to the state college. And so it is a very important time. I went through it. All of us, my co-hosts have gone through it. And oftentimes it can be very pressured. It can be a time of anxiety, a time of restlessness, a time of sleeplessness, sometimes a time where even some pupils and students panic, and they sometimes even shut down. So we want to talk about that in terms of some of the tips that we can know in terms of preparing and helping our students as they go through this channel. Because even as parents, we all want to know that our children have excelled, that they have gotten great grades in order for their promotions. None of us really want to see the C's and D's. But sometimes, do we pressure our children a bit too much to the point where we even shut them down, and we may even get them too anxious or even depressed? We have our educator who is our co-host, who is now the officer in charge of the state college. And so I think, being in education for so many years, her mother being a former principal of secondary school, so I'm sure she can share some lights, being in the classroom and then becoming an administrator. What advice would you give to firstly students who are preparing for exams? And then you will talk about what advice you'll give to the guardians and parents. Yes.
So that one, it as you mentioned, it is exam period. Although some of the major exams, like the CSEC exams, are coming to an end on Friday. Actually, is the last day of CSEC exams here for the subjects that we do in Dominica. The common entrance, or the grade 6 national assessment, I should say, passed already. So these students are off now. But end of term exams in high schools, in primary schools, these should be occurring in the next week or so or two. I would say towards the end of June, and then school will close in July. So yes, you're right. For a lot of people, it is a time of exam preparation. Now, the advice to students, Carlton, it's so interesting because oftentimes we think of exams as this one-off thing,
Yes.
but preparation for exams is supposed to be throughout the school
That
year.
is very true.
It's not
Yes.
when the exam is approaching
Mhm.
that what you do will necessarily make the greatest impact. It's what you have done throughout the school year, or what you have chosen to not do as well. So we can talk for students as it relates to constantly reviewing work, not
Mhm.
leaving all work to be reviewed or revised right before an exam. Some people say that they have, or some children or students will say, I can cram well.
Hmm.
So what I will do is the night before the exam or the test, I will just, go through, or I'll stay up all night. I will read through everything, and that is sufficient to get me through because I have a good memory. I can cram. That is a very dangerous practice
Mm.
because what it does, it overwhelms the brain sometimes, and the material ends up being confused in the
Ah.
person's mind because there's so much material, particularly for the end of year exams, which is now, right? So if you're doing exams and those exams cover the entire year's work,
Mhm.
you're in a problem if you wait in the night before to try to read or cram, as we say. So it is really incremental review. Now, different people or different students learn differently.
Mhm.
So it is very important for you as a student, and with the help of your teacher, the help of your parents, to identify what is your learning style. Because what might work for me might not necessarily work
True.
for you. So some people are visual learners, they need to see. Some people are audio learners, they need to hear. So
Mhm.
audio visual,
I'm
they
like that.
see and hear. Some people are what we call kinesthetic learners or tactile learners. They need to experience the thing. So like for instance, if you're teaching science, the lab activities is what
Yes.
really enforces the material for them, the actual things that they have to do with their
Mhm. Has to be
hands.
tangible.
Yes, that is what will
Mhm.
reinforce. Some people are reading and writing focused, so for them to get information, they have to read it and rewrite it.
Mhm.
So some people
I've seen
study
that.
like that.
Yes.
Yeah, so different types of learning styles. So if you know you're a student who needs a visual, then tricks like going to YouTube and getting videos that explain the material, those are things you can do. Your pictures, PowerPoint slides, you can rely on that to go over the material. If you are reading and writing person, then you need to be going into the book and highlighting, rewriting notes, and that is how it stays in your mind. If you're a kinesthetic person or tactile learning, you need to be doing experiments. So you really have to, before exam time, understand what works best for you to internalize that information, to really remember it. And then you use that style that works for you. So I would say maybe for the young students, your primary school students, they might not know yet, it's early still,
Yes.
but by the high school level, you can start to understand, boy, this is what works for me. Other people like to write notes, but that does nothing for me. What I need is a YouTube video to really make that sink in my brain. So those are some of the things. I mean, knowing what is your style, revising your work long in advance, and resting as well. Because a lot of times students think, as I said, staying up all night is the key. Putting extreme effort right before the exam and not resting, not doing anything else that will make them excel. That's not true. If you're not well rested, if you're not relaxed, then you're going to have on the exam day extreme fatigue, anxiety, even,
Mhm.
and you're not going to perform well.
True.
So you need to be well rested. You need to be, so rest is important. So if you up and you're trying to do an all nighter and you just cannot do it, really just take a break and sleep.
I'm, excuse me.
Mhm.
I remember my time of high school and college.
Mm.
I enjoyed going to the river to
Mm.
study by myself.
Ah.
I was never someone who liked studying in groups, and I always connected well with nature.
Mm.
So I don't know what type of learning is that, but learner is that. But I liked just going to the river with my books and hearing the river and that type of thing.
Mhm.
And I'd really, really taken my information, extremely well.
Okay.
You understand?
Okay.
Or I would listen to classical music. So
Mm.
if I were to study a subject matter, so particularly sociology, which is so bulky and a lot of reading and stuff, I would normally listen to a music, but it's in a different language that I cannot understand, so that I don't
Mhm.
recite or I don't sing
Mhm.
along with it. So I would do maybe classical, real
Okay.
classical, or
Okay.
something in Spanish, and just play that music. So it becomes my background. Where it's not too silent, it becomes my background, so it masks anything, and then I would be able to meditate. Again, different people have different
Yes, yes.
techniques.
Some people need peace, extreme silence,
Mhm.
silence to study
Yes.
or revise. Some people, as you said, like yourself, you want a little background
Yes.
noise.
Mhm.
The music or the sound of the river, or so on. So it really depends on the type. And what I would definitely say is don't try to force yourself as a student
Mhm.
to learn or to study in a way that is not working for you because that's what your friends are doing. So like Carlton, you mentioned you didn't really like group work. Some people, their friends, some students, their friends might say, well, let's get together and do
Mhm.
a session before the exam. And you when you're in a group, you're distracted,
Yes. Yes.
is whatever, you're not
Never like.
focused at all.
Mhm.
Then tell your friends, that's not for me. Another thing too, it does work for some people, that's group work, because some people work well with peer learning. So the teacher
Yes.
would explain, they would never understand, but when a friend explains
Mhm.
the same material, just based on how the friend does it, so their peers, somebody their age, it sinks in
Yes.
better. So it does work for some, but for some people, group work is distraction, is so you just have to know. And I guess it's something, as you get older, you really kind of appreciate more. So I would say, hopefully by the time you get to college, some of these things I'm saying, you should understand for yourself what is what
Mhm.
is your preferred style, and you make the best choice for you, because you want to do your best,
True.
right? You want to do your best. But it's also, Carlton, another thing I should say, re-exams. People have different competencies and different abilities. And there's a lot of talk that, exams test certain ability, but that's not the only ability somebody may
Mhm.
have. So your
Mhm.
ability to remember and give back certain things, or a certain type of exam questions might just be asking you to give back information,
Mhm.
essentially. So but that is not maybe what you are good at. You're not good at a recall, but you may be a very creative person.
Yes.
You may be a person who is artsy, who can really create. And depending on what is the subject or the exam, it might not be measured. Your creativity is not
Yeah.
measured there.
Yeah.
So I would really want to say to students and parents by extension, an exam is not the be all end all for the child, for the
Mhm.
for the for the for the individual. An exam measures certain capacities, but a human being is made up of a lot of different capabilities, a lot of different
Mhm.
aspects. And somebody might be good in one thing and not so good in another thing.
Very
And
true.
that's life. That's life,
Very,
you
very
know?
true. In reference though to, because like I know that I've seen it, my daughter goes to St. Martin's School. It's a very competitive school. The workload is a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Because you would have, for example, the core subject English, but it is broken down into like 4 or 5 different
Yeah,
subjects.
comprehension,
Yes,
reading.
composition,
Mm-hmm.
phonics, spelling, grammar. So you
Mm-hmm.
have all these different exams that the child does separately, like
Right.
independently rather.
Mm-hmm.
And it is most times a parent would say to a child in grade 3, like my daughter who is 8 years old, go and study a book. But how does an 8-year-old child really study a book?
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't make sense to me as such. So what we do is that we study with her.
Right.
So
Right.
we read the material together, then quiz her
Mm-hmm.
on the material that was read. I think that's more practical
Mm-hmm.
than to tell a 3-year-old child, go in your bedroom and study.
Mm-hmm.
Because
So
really and truly, a child that age doesn't really know how to study.
right. So you say right. So now you get in onto the advice for parents now.
Yes.
Parents now have to be involved in the process of learning for it to work. It cannot just be the teacher and the school. So the parent now has a very important part to play. Yes, in providing the right environment for the child to learn adequately. So meaning the right environment, what nutrition are you providing? What is your home environment like? You know, is there peace and quiet for the child to excel? Is there space in the home that the child can sit down and do their work or whatever it is? That, but also the provision of, Carlton, as you're mentioning, an interest in helping and studying with the child, because the child needs that parental involvement. And some parents might say, boy, I don't know anything about that science and that social studies they teaching there. I didn't get those things in my life, or I might not have gone to school myself. But what you should also be able to do as a parent is network
True.
to get the child somebody that maybe can help outside of school time, but help with those areas that you might not be able to help with yourself. So you're not, you're saying to yourself, with science, this chemistry thing, the child learning there at high school, or physics, I don't know anything about that. But you can, network with somebody who does know, a past college student or somebody who can help. And as you mentioned, Carlton, always engaging in conversation about the material can help the person to study. Doing little quizzes. Sometimes you go into school in the morning with the child on the vehicle or on a bus, whatever it is, and you're just asking little questions. What is it that what if you're doing social studies and the child was having to memorize or to learn the capital cities of the different islands, or the child was supposed to be learning in science about the states of matter. So you just ask a little question and ask the child to verbalize what they know. And in that way, the child is studying, just that little conversation you having with them on your way to school or work or whatever. So those are some tips for parents. I think the interaction is key. The child wouldn't just learn by you sending them to the best school.
True.
And just leaving it all up to that school. So now it's the school's responsibility to give you a good product. That's not how it works. The parent is the other side of the coin. So the school is one side, you, the parent, what you provide at home, and your involvement, that is the other side. Without those two sides of the coin is not going to be worth anything.
And I think too, as well, to add, our children feeds on our energy. And a lot of the time, sometimes the way that we address education as it relates to our children, so we really do put a lot of pressure on them. Think of a child, let's say I will take St. Martin's School again. That child leaves school, school finishes, is at school from 7:45 to 1. So like my daughter. Then at 2 o'clock, she goes to afternoon lessons, which ends at 4. We live in Meru. She has to wait for her parents to finish school, whether it's I or my wife. If it's my wife, whatever time, whoever gets home first, we get home generally about 5:30, 6 o'clock. Okay. So you're talking about a child has been up because they get up for 5:30 in the morning to get ready for prepare and all of that, have breakfast and get ready for school, and then you get home at 6 o'clock, have a bath. By 9 o'clock, she has to go to bed. How do you know you want to put extra pressure on that child to do all these different study this and study that.
Mm-hmm.
So I think sometimes we have to be conscientious about the the cognitive capacity of the child. How much can that child retain and take? Because they've practically been in a school setting for like about 9 hours of the day.
Mm-hmm.
Then they're tired because they got up at 5:30 to get ready for school. And I think we often don't forget that. We often forget that.
Mm-hmm.
So it is something too, because we sometimes we shout after the children, we call them names.
Mm-hmm.
We want to even beat them for maybe getting a particular grade in a subject area. What are we creating? We're actually creating fear,
Mm-hmm.
and we causing the child to be afraid. The child is doing that exam and they're afraid that, boy, if I get 70%, what is going to happen to me?
Mm-hmm.
And whilst they're doing the exam, they are doing the exam with anxiety
Mm-hmm.
and fear,
Mm-hmm.
which is not good.
Mm-hmm.
You understand? So I think it's important, because my wife and I always have issues with that.
Mm-hmm.
I am more the practical parent that will understand the psychology of what is happening with my daughter. I'll speak of her specifically because she's the youngest. Um, Whereas my wife would be like, no, she still has time. She still can do that. And I'm like, no, that is just too much on a child.
Mm-hmm.
You understand? Because at the end of the day, you tell this child to read this book, but the brain is so tired, the child is not retaining any information. So the child is just there with the book, really and truly, but no information is being retained because the child's brain is really, really tired.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have to look at some of these things. And some of the schools too, I have some issues with them because, I mean, you're giving a child 50 words to study, for example, for spelling. A 3-year-old child, an 8-year-old child, 50 words to study for a spelling test within days. To me, that's just not practical.
Mm-hmm.
You understand? And um, sometimes, I don't know the educational system too. I think they really put a lot of pressure, because my son went to Massac school where he did the core subjects: English, social studies, science, and
Science and
whatever.
math.
Right. He came out very high in the common entrance. He's at SME, flying colors. That did not make him perform less, because
Mm-hmm.
he didn't do all these other little subjects. You understand? So
Mm-hmm.
sometimes I think the school system too adds a lot of pressure on the
Mm-hmm.
children.
It depends, it really depends on, as I said, the people are very different. Some people will, or some children will thrive with certain, in certain parameters. You give them a whole lot of things to do, and that is challenging for them. Some people, their capacity is maybe better somewhere else. Their mind is maybe on something else that you're not pushing. As I said, the creativity is
Mhm.
often stifled in our system as well. There's not a lot for the creatives, the out of the box people. There's not a lot for these people in the system. So it really depends. I do see the importance of a challenge, because there are some children, the challenges really propel them to do well, and there's some people that is not what they want. They're thrown off by
Yes.
those extremes. So it really depends, but I would say it's a challenge to be a parent, I know, because you have to find the right mix for the
Mhm.
child that you have, not the child that you want, but the child that you have, not
Yeah.
your friend's child, or the child you saw on social media. And because sometimes parents decide, for whatever reason, they want their child to be a great public speaker or something. I just
Mhm.
want to use that. And the person might be the child might have an interest in dancing,
Mhm.
or in art or
Yeah.
something. But the parent decide is boy, is that I want you
Mhm.
to be Barack Obama. Is that is what is
Mhm.
in my mind. So it's really, you just have to be more realistic as a parent sometimes and deal with the child that you have. What is their interest? What are their, what works for them? And you learn that as the child is growing, and you make adjustments, and you don't make your own expectations overrun what is the real aspect of what the child is dealing with.
I agree
Mhm.
100%. So, for those of you who've been listening and wondering, well, what does Jolly's have to offer to
Mhm.
you? Your child is about to do exams, and yes, you're feeding them well, but you need something for their brain. You
Mhm.
want something to help them to be able to, retain information, memorize well, and be alert as well.
Yeah, alert. That's
That's true,
important.
that to be alert. Okay. So we have three wonderful products that we've worked with. We will begin with the Halibawaj Omega 3 DHA with vitamins A, C, and D, which is a brain support tonic. This
Mhm.
one here, I'm not too sure if you can see. Those of you who are
Yes.
online, we are online live, so you might be able
Yes.
to see us
So
on the.
for the people listening on the radio, yes, we should have said that. The people listening on the radio, of course, the show is also live on Q95 FM's Facebook page and their YouTube channel. So you can get a live view of some of the products that Carlton will be showcasing for cognitive development to help the children to really perform optimally, particularly in this exam season.
Definitely. So we have the Holibawash Omega 3 DHA brain support tonic. It is generally for children 3 years to 12 years old. So we're talking about from preschool all the way to primary school.
Mhm.
This particular tonic is available. You can get this tonic for $43.70, and it's the Halibawash Brain Support Tonic. And this one is available for children 3 years to 12 years old. It is a very nice tonic. It's 300 milliliters. It's sugar free, but has an orange flavor to it.
Mm-hmm. So I see, yes, I noticed the orange flavor highlighted there. So I guess the children will like
Yes,
the
they'll like the
taste,
taste.
will like the taste. And it says here that it has vitamin A to
Mhm.
support the vision, eyes. Vitamin A is for good vision, vitamin C for the immune system, and
Mhm.
vitamin D for the normal growth of bones in children, and the omega 3s for the brain function. So a multi-purpose tonic, and really assisting with brain support. I like this.
Yes, so this is
Yes.
available.
Yes.
Now, if you are an older child or adults, because we have many adults who study as well, tertiary level.
Oh yes, we forgot the
Yes.
adults. It's not
We
only
have
young
adults,
people doing
right? We have
doing
adults who study,
exams.
right?
Yes.
So we have the Omega H3. This is very, very popular. It sells really well. What I really like about this one is that it contains both synthetic and herbal. So you can get everything in there. Over 33 multivitamins and minerals in there. So if you're feeling tired and fatigued, you're feeling like your brain is just melting on you. You're not, your energy level is not there. This again, and as you see, all the products they contain omega 3. This product is available, the omega H3, that's in the red and gold box. You can get this one capsule a day, and that will cost you $37.50.
And that's
37
EC,
and
and
EC
that's
dollars.
EC dollars. So for the person
That's
asking
it.
what currency are we referring to, EC dollars. Yes.
Definitely. Yes. So this one is extremely popular. I know it's the favorite of Dr. Mark. He really likes prescribing this.
Okay.
Yeah. So that is available. The Omega H3 capsules, which really helps with brain support. So you may be at the high school level or at the Dominica State College, or you might be doing your degree online, UE or some other university,
Yes,
you know,
yes.
this is an excellent choice for you.
Right. And I see Carlton really highlighted the tiredness and fatigue
Yes, yes.
reduction that will
Mhm.
be assisted with this. And I think many, many people want something to assist with tiredness and fatigue.
Yes. And the
Yes.
last one that we have in the series for cognitive health is the Dr. Chase Nerve Food tablets. This has been around for so many years. Dr. Chase, the Dr. Chase tonic, Dr. Chase nerve and blood, then you have the Dr. Chase nerve food. So for people who may be suffering with anxiety, your fatigue, brain fog, where you just feel like your brain is just crashing on you, you're just not alert, you're not remembering anything. Again, this nerve food tablet from Dr. Chase, which has been around for so many years. They say from since 1856.
Mm.
So that's been
Wow.
maybe two generations.
Mhm.
This has been around. Dr. Chase Nerve Food. For those who might be viewing from overseas, they might be excited to even hear of that, knowing that it's a product that has been around for so many years, and they would have grew up using, as a child, their parents would have used it. This is available, and again, you can get this one at Jolly's Pharmacy, all Jolly's Pharmacy location. While stock lasts, you can get the Dr. Chase Nerve Food tablets for $29.95.
And is that
$29.95.
a month supply,
And that
Carlton?
is more than a
50?
month
Oh, more
supply.
than a month.
Yes,
Okay.
it's usually one a day,
One a day,
one
and there are
tablet a
50
day,
tablets in
50
the
tablets in
pack.
there.
Okay.
So you really have a good choice with this Dr. Chase Nerve Food tablet, all of which are available at Jolly's Pharmacy. So we
Yes.
have spoken about, some tips in preparation of the upcoming exams. We know that it's a time that teachers are busy, parents are busy, and students are even busier. So we
Mhm.
want you to take care of yourself. As Trudy said, optimize your rest, know your limits, still have some fun, exercise,
Yes. Yes.
eat well as well, a balanced meal, drink lots of water, and of course, use your supplements.
Mhm.
They will certainly help you because there are some nutrients that you may not get based on what the food that you might have chosen to eat, and so these supplements will help to compensate for some of the key nutrients that you may be deficient of.
Yes.
So what we're going to do, we're going to take a short break, and then we will be discussing the hurricane season. Let's take a break.
Introducing Jolly's Pharmacy, brand new website. www.jollies.gm. It's your time to jump the line. Shop now at jollies.gm and have your items delivered in the comfort of your office. No more standing in line. No need to use your lunch hour to shop. Hassle-free shopping, safe and secure. Jollies.gm features rush delivery, 1 hour. In-store pickup, regular delivery, 5 p.m. Cut-off time, 4 p.m. It's your time to jump the line. Visit us at www.jollies.gm. Jollies Pharmacy, leading the way in healthcare.
Who say health cannot have vibes? Well, Jolly's Pharmacy is proving you otherwise. With Health Vibes, every Wednesday morning on Q95 from 10 a.m. to 11:30. Health Vibes, education, information, and a bit of humor. And not forgetting lots of vibes. Hosted by Carlton Lango with co-hosts Jacinta Fagan Defo and Trudy Kristen. Jolly's Pharmacy is bringing health and vibes together every Wednesday, so be sure to tune in. Health Vibes every Wednesday on Q95 from 10 a.m. to 11:30. Jolly's Pharmacy, leading the way in healthcare.
Are you tired of using deodorants that soil up your clothing and just don't work? Introducing Babyliss Invincible Deodorant, made with all natural ingredients, including beeswax and arrowroot. Our deodorant is gentle on your skin while still providing long-lasting protection against odor. Say goodbye to harsh chemicals And hello to all day freshness and confidence with Babyliss Invincible deodorant. Try it now and experience the difference for yourself. Available at Jolly's Pharmacy.
Who say health cannot have vibes? Well, Jolly's Pharmacy is proving you otherwise. With Health Vibes, every Wednesday morning on Q95 from 10 a.m. to 11:30. Health Vibes, education, information, and a bit of humor. And not forgetting lots of vibes. Hosted by Carlton Lango with co-hosts Jacinta Fagan Defo and Trudy Kristen. Jolly's Pharmacy is bringing health and vibes together every Wednesday, so be sure to tune in. Health Vibes every Wednesday on Q95 from 10 a.m. to 11:30. Jolly's Pharmacy, leading the way in health.
So we're back with you this morning. Again, we began with education and now we're switching gears and we're going to talk a little about preparing for the hurricane season. It is a season that none of us look forward to, but once you live in the tropics, you will expect that we are in the hurricane belt, and so we are exposed to this natural um, phenomenon or this natural disaster called hurricanes. This year, the names of the hurricanes, I'm going to call them. You have Alberto, Beryl, Chris, Debbie, Ernesto, Francine, Gordon, Helen, Isaac, Joyce, Cook, Leslie, Milton, Nadine, Oscar, Petty, Raphael, Sarah, Tony, Valerie, and William. So these are the names of the cyclones for this Atlantic hurricane season. Most of us still get nightmares or get extremely anxious when June is approaching. I had a friend of mine that said once June comes around, she migrates, she goes to England. She doesn't want to be around, and then she comes back. She comes back in January, February, because she doesn't want to experience a hurricane again. And so we have people who are still scarred by Hurricane Maria, having endured the psychological and physical trauma of Hurricane Maria. But I think many of us learned from Hurricane Maria. The word resilient became a signature word here in Dominica. Many of us build and we build smarter. I'm seeing more and more homes are now with concrete roof. People have thought of where they place their windows, what type of windows that they invest in. Um, yes, yes, that's true. The location in which where they will put windows, particularly windows facing the sea. People are looking at that. We recognize too that we building more higher and higher up into the hills, and people are aware too of the higher altitude that you are, the more you are exposed to the wind. And so I'm seeing more and more people are those who are building up on hills, they're putting concrete roof. So we're seeing some changes. But the hurricane season, how prepared are we? We still see over and over and over again once a storm is announced and we are at threat to that storm, we see the supermarkets are totally filled to capacity. We see that the gas stations the lines are super long. We see that the ATM machines, the lines are super long. It would seem that we still wait for the last minute to prepare, to take heed. The very same person that will say they don't have money is that very same person that you will see in the supermarket. They will find that money when they hear a hurricane is coming, and they will find They will go to the supermarket to get the canned foods, the powdered foods, and yes, the non-perishables. So why are we waiting last minute?
Something you earlier said about Hurricane Maria and people have recollection of it. I mean, the positive, somebody might say there's no positive of having gone for a category 5 storm, but I do think that we can say that the positive is that now we have a population of people here who have experienced the worst possible cyclone that there could have been, and so we should have some information stored in our heads now from having dealt with that, so we know how to we know what we did not have when Maria occurred, so we know now what we should have in preparation. But Carlton, you're right, I think we're still waiting too late to prepare, but it's not that we don't know how to prepare, it's the timeliness of the preparation. And that is where a program like this, where we're going to remind people, is important, because people have some of the information. They've experienced a category 5 hurricane. They know what food items they should have on hand. They know about the water scarcity after the storm, and so what they should have. They know about the electricity absence after a storm, and so what you should have. But preparing early is critical. I think we just need to shake ourselves out of the last minute vibes and prepare early, early, early. And June 1st is the start of the hurricane season. We are past June 1st. So if you haven't started preparing, you're already late.
True.
You are already late. So let's see how we can change around the lateness in the upcoming weeks, for the hurricane season. And I think the hurricane season started with a good reminder to us that it is the hurricane season, because Carlton, as soon as your month started, the month of June, the rain just started. So it has been raining, so we can see, the Atlantic is to get its little activity. The tropical waves have been coming across.
Right. So many of us, living in Dominica, we have trees around us. So of us have mango trees, canip trees, guava trees, breadfruit trees, pear trees, and they're not very far from our homes or houses. Yes, the trees nice. You love the fruit that it brings forth, but at the same time, to that very same tree can actually destroy your house. So it's a good time to remember that you have to prune, you have to trim big branches that are lurking close to your house, because they can definitely mash up your house.
And it's not just your house, not the neighbor's
The
house
neighbor's
too,
house too, it's
because
true.
there are properties that are side by side, and one person has a huge overgrown tree, and if a storm occurs, the tree doesn't know which house for it to fall
Very true.
on. The tree can very well fall onto the person who does not own it, their property. So it is very important to get rid or trim those large overhanging branches that you may have in your area. I see it all over the place. There are trees, even in my area, that are so high and so big. They're covering the street light.
Yes.
So that's to show you how overgrown. So this is something we have to look out for, because those trees become missiles in the storm, and we've
Very
seen that
true.
for ourselves. A piece of the tree breaks off and is whoop whoop whoop.
Very true. Windows can be shattered, your walls can be, compromised, So it's important. And let us not, I mean, some neighbors don't always, they're not friends or whatever, but be conscientious, because at the end of the day, you might say, well, it was a natural disaster, it wasn't your fault, but then the tree was in your yard, and so some of us have coconut trees and breadfruit trees. So you really want to be aware, and you want to be prudent with the hanging trees, the trees that are close to your house. Insurance. Ensure that your insurance are up to date. And also I got to notice that mine, I have to fill in my form for me to get mine renewed. So even for me, your house insurance, that is very, very important. You don't want to let that, slide by and assume that nothing is going to happen. And then, you really get a major problem because again, Dominica is very mountainous. We have streams that turn to mini rivers close to our houses. We have ravines, we have big gullies, we have drains. We have some of us are in areas that are prone to landslides. And so, so is one or the other. It's either you're close to a ravine that can turn to a river, or your house is close to an area that can become a mountain that can cause a mudslide.
Mhm.
It's just how it is in Dominica. And so you want to ensure that your insurance is up to date, your vehicle insurance, your home insurance is up to date. If you have insured your what you call that, the contents of your home, you want to ensure that that is fine too. um you want to make sure too that you have cash at hand.
Mhm.
Cash at hand, because yes, maybe they will not accept your check. You might say, but don't you know who I am? The bank may say, well, the person might say, well, we're not accepting check now. It's cash. So try to have at least a float of, even if it's $500 for the minimum at home, somewhere stored. You want to break that money, not have it in $500 like $100 notes, but break it down into 20s, into 50s, into tens, into fives,
Mhm.
because maybe where you go, they may not have change. So you want to make sure that you're practical with the money. So you don't want to have only $100 notes, because you might go to a place and you really need your change, and then that is a delay. So you want to break down that money. Yes, and truly made, our sexual and reproductive health, that's important too. We
Mhm.
know that our population is needs improving, but at the same time too, some of us, we don't want the unwanted pregnancy. So yes, it's nice weather to chauffer, children watching TV, adults engaging in adult activity under the weather, and then voila, you find yourself pregnant and you're not so happy because you have a big mortgage or you have things to do and it wasn't planned and so forth. So you still want to have your protection
Yes.
on hand at home,
Yes.
to make sure that if you do not want to have a baby at this present time, you know that you have your backup right around there, that when the natural, healthy, biological feeling comes, you can reach
Yes.
for that device and protect yourself too.
Definitely. There's so much talk about anytime it rains,
Yes,
anytime it rains, it's
it's
20
20.
toes and that type. So that is good. That is good advice. Because in the hurricane season, we're not just preparing for the worst case scenario, which is a full blown a hurricane, but we're also preparing for the storms that we may have that might cause closure of work, school,
True.
just to be safe.
Mhm.
So sometimes there's an approaching tropical storm and you have to close down, and people at home and they idle, and
Yeah,
it's the weather is
nothing to
is
do, no life,
right.
nothing,
So we
just each
have
other
to
company.
prepare for those instances as well. This is the season for that. And interestingly, Carlton, it's also a season where it's difficult to plan things, events, and so on full
Yes,
fledged,
very
because you
true.
never know if the
Yes.
weather,
Mhm.
is bad on that date. You may have to change plans. So you always have to be very
Yeah,
flexible in your
true.
planning during the hurricane
Mhm.
season. Very flexible. Always have a plan B when you're planning some sort of event, some sort of, especially if it's like a wedding
Yes.
and you're planning an outdoor thing, and on
Mhm.
that particular weekend or whatever, that is when a storm is rolling through. So
Mhm.
you should always have a plan B.
Yes. The other thing too is ensuring that your home is secure, because at that time too, volley out there too, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
you have a lot of people who look around and wait to see where they can, which house they can enter, which house they can enter, where they can break in, where they can maybe loot. And so you want to ensure that your place is secure properly. Those of you with the, like me, you have the double doors. It would be good to put a bar across the double door by the inside, so
Mm-hmm.
your door doesn't burst open according to the wind. It is something that we used to do many years ago. You'd see the shopkeepers have this piece of metal at the back
Oh
of
yes,
the
yes,
window
that's
of the
correct.
window or the door. So you have a double door, up, down. Maybe you have two or so. You may want to put a piece of metal iron at the back of that door, so it keeps the door
Mm-hmm.
firm.
Mm-hmm.
Because many people, their doors got blown away, and that's how the wind came and swept everything
Yes,
during the
yes,
hurricane.
yes.
So that too, you want to ensure that it is done. There was something too that I wanted
Make
to
sure
mention.
that
It will come back to mind.
that house is secure. Another thing that happened, that I mean, people talk about, for instance, in hurricane preparedness, that you should have your documents and so on, your
Mhm.
important things, safeguarded. Make sure that you can put them in a what you call it, a plastic
Yes, a Ziploc bag.
your bag, so
Yes.
that in the event of a storm, these documents are not destroyed. People talk about safeguarding, Carlton, as you mentioned. Your Make sure you have money, make sure you have gas, make sure you have non-perishable food. But something that happened, that a tip that I personally want to share, is if a storm occurs and your house is damaged for whatever reason, one of the things that goes astray if you don't safeguard it are your keys. One of the Yes. So
Yes.
oftentimes we have
You
keys,
aga away the
and
key.
we hang it maybe by the door, or we have the keys by the door, and then there is a storm that impacts the door, there's wind that enters the home, and after the storm, you cannot find the keys. So that is something I would also include to safeguard your property keys, your vehicle keys, so that if there is a storm and your property is impacted, that you at least know where those things are. The same like you'll secure your documents. And Carlton, too, when it comes to food, I
Mm.
know before the storm, we like to, if there is a storm, we run and shop, as you said. But to save on costs, it is advised that people start making their hurricane preparedness food stock from what they have already in the house. So, meaning, you look at your cupboard and you have some unopened canned things. You maybe have an unopened jar of peanut butter, or of some milk. You can already put that aside, as I'm saving that for potential storms. Of course, once the expiration date on the things
Mhm.
the expiration date is far. So you can put that aside, so you don't have to go when if a storm is approaching and buy every
Yeah,
single
so it will
thing
go
from
overboard.
scratch.
Mhm.
Yes. So you have certain things already in the home, certain non-perishables already in your cupboard. Just put them aside, block your eyes from them, and say that is your hurricane
You do have to buy water
stash.
for sure.
Yeah, so that when the storm is approaching, you don't have to buy all canned stuff, all what people buy, crackers, and
Mhm.
you may have had those things when June started, and you could just try to incrementally save something every week, so that you have a good supply of non-perishables if there's a storm.
I like that. And the other thing too, we often forget is the safety of your pets. The safety of your pets. Your pets, they're part of the family. Your cats, your dogs. It really seems inhumane to have them roaming about, fighting for their lives out there, and don't give your I know your goats, your sheep, your cow, many of these animals were killed during the hurricane, and you want to ensure that you have a safe place. You make a plan as to what happens. Where would you put your goat, your sheep? Maybe it's time to invest in a block structure. If you have lots of goats, and maybe you are wearing them for money, to have them slaughter and sell the meat and so forth. Maybe it'd be good to have a concrete roof structure, block structure for your goats and your sheep. That is
Mm.
important. Ensuring that they're safe, because they are scavenging and they're fighting for their lives, and we don't want to forget them. We really don't want to forget them. And know your environment. I know, like where my house is, there is a ravine not so far from my house. So that is a threat to me, because yes, it's a ravine now, but depending on the volume of water, rain we get, it can become a big river. So I have to always be conscientious of that. What would be the widest? I'm projecting sometimes. What would be the widest this river can become,
Mhm.
and how would it, how can it affect my structure? So these are things too that we often take for granted, and we don't think deep. Even when you're building a retaining wall or you're building a defense wall, how deep is that wall going to be? How thick is that wall going to be? Can it withstand that the water that is going to be coming down? So you want to be aware of these things. You want to make sure that, yes, it's the hurricane season. We do not know which of these storms is going to affect us, which one may affect us or may not affect us. Sometimes we may not get plenty rain, but we may get high seas.
Mhm.
So for people who live in close to the sea can become just as very, very dangerous. We exposed to landslides, fallen rocks. Many of us, we traverse back and forth to work and elsewhere. We have to pass on the cliffs. We want to be monitoring these things too. I am terrified of the Taro Cliff. I do not like
Yes,
that cliff
dangerous cliff.
at all.
Mhm.
The road is narrow there. You don't have much of an escape if you have a landslide there. So we are aware of these things, and even at times it is good when we even drive in when it's dry weather to look up and see if there is any threat with those cliffs. If there is any pending stone that might be looking like it may get loose at any time,
Mm.
or big tree that, because sometimes we drive and we really don't look at these things. But it's good when it's good weather. Sometimes our officials, especially our engineering departments, that they look and they assess these cliffs and see really and truly. There was a couple, maybe 3 years ago, there was a huge rock that was almost ready to fall off Ontario Cliff, and thank
Mm.
God somebody passed and videotape it,
Mm.
and then they had to get the engineers and people to come and get that rock down.
Down. Yeah.
And I
So
remember being in traffic for about an hour on either side while they were trying to get that rock down, because God knows what it could have
yes,
done.
yes. So being
So assessing
proactive.
those
Yeah.
things,
Yeah.
assessing your yard, assessing your environment to make sure,
Yes.
in case of that, what comes next? How do you navigate? How do you, so
Mhm.
it is important.
Yes. Carlton, we have some people asking some questions from our Facebook audience. Somebody asked if Dominica has an emergency preparation plan.
I think they do.
And if yes, what are the plans and what are they for? Well, yes, of course, Dominica
Mhm.
does have an emergency preparedness
From
plan.
the
NIPO is who would act the
Yes,
national
and local
emergency.
government commission, yeah, the local government departments, yeah, they collaborate.
Well, yes, but
Hmm.
the national
Hmm.
emergency preparedness office, that's NIPO, I
Yes.
believe that's what the acronym stands for, would activate the plan in the impending, threat
Hmm.
of whatever it is, and then the different agencies responsible, your the ODM, and so on, would execute the aspects of the plan. The plan for Dominica would be to safeguard, or to inform the population and to safeguard public property. But people have to have their own personal
True.
preparedness plan for themselves and their home. So the country, of course, does have an emergency preparedness plan, but individuals have to have their own plan for their own circumstances, right? And then somebody else asked here if there are plans to safeguard the mentally unstable people from the ravages of a storm. Now, that's an
Very
interesting,
interesting question.
very interesting question. I don't
I don't know the
know.
answer to
I
that one.
don't know the answer to this one. I
Hmm.
don't know what is done, particularly for people who may be on the streets right before the storm. I would assume they would be taken into the home for the homeless, but I'm not sure. So
Yeah,
I really don't know. So that's a
it's a
very
very good question.
very interesting question.
I see we have some callers. Let's see if we can take the
Mhm.
callers before we. Yes. Good morning to you, caller. Thanks for calling.
Okay, Mr. Jolly, what's up?
We're doing well. Good morning.
Okay, well, I am there listening and I hearing about emergency planning that people have their office. I don't know where the office is. I only hearing Carlton and
The office is in Jimmet. The emergency office is in Jimmet.
Well, that's what I saying. I don't know where it is. That means I'm not hearing them. I am in Carlton and his team and advising the generation and those to stand up for the nation. Carlton, sometimes we have to say God bless for Q95. And sometimes we have to say God bless for Carlton too. Because when people believe it's just medicine, Carlton into a whole heap of things and trying to educate us. Why is we taking it for a joke? What you all are talking about there now is quite serious. Now those things need to be in the forum of the schools. Right? On the radio, yes, but remember, we have 3 children inside of a house. We have 5 on the other side. We have another 6 again. Now that is confusion and pollution because the mother saying to put the radio on that station, the other one saying put up your, the other one saying in your. So that is the confusion. Where is the education coming in when they are being roughed up like that? So in closing, my boy, I don't want to stay too long. If it wasn't for you and Q95 and your team members, my boy in Dominica, we will be doomed and gloom. So I am asking the last set of parents with the last set of fathers and mothers in the world now and in Dominica, let's educate those
Thank
that
you.
are not educated into the system.
Thank you, caller. Thank you. Thank you for your sentiments. Let's take this other caller. We are borrowed time now. Good morning to you, caller. Thanks for calling.
Yeah, good morning, Carlton.
Good morning to you. Good morning.
Trudy.
Trudy. Apologize.
Good morning.
Yeah, good morning. You know, Carlton, I talking about all the warnings and the signs. I wanted to talk on nature's signs and warnings, Carlton. We seem to have lost track of that in deciphering what's going on. I mean, we had crabs running around the place from the sea, man, for this last couple of weeks. I mean, that's a warning. That's a warning. We have to pay attention to our cultural warnings, you know, and those of the land. And, you know, so I don't know if we have a national evacuation plan, but Carlton, you know, the place has been getting pretty hot. It's not like the sun's getting hotter, really. It's the heat's coming from the ground. Mm-hmm. What are these crabs running from, you know? That seaweed, you know, it's back to rebound. What's happening? Are these organisms trying to run away from some heat down on the ocean floor and they die before they reach the top? We gotta pay attention to these cultural warnings.
Thank you, caller.
And yeah.
I appreciate that. And that's an interesting, yeah. Let's take this last caller. Caller is gone. Okay.
Yes.
So, yeah, we just about out of time. We would have loved to take call, but we really wanted to get the information out there this morning, particularly as it relates to the preparedness of exams and at the same time, preparedness for the hurricane season. Let's take this last caller because I suspect it. Good morning to you, caller. Thanks for calling.
Good morning, Carlton. Nurse Dairampo.
Hi, Nurse. Good morning.
I will not be long. I just want to tell you again, happy birthday. And I'm still waiting for my cake. We haven't seen for a good while. And your co-host also, good morning. You know, Carlton, I had to tell you that personally. And you know I love you and everybody love you. Yes. And anytime you hear Nurse Dairampo in hospital, like Carlton, come and look for me, eh? You write a lot already.
I know.
Bye-bye. Don't forget.
Okay,
nice. And be as you are, a nice person. Everybody love you. And a very good program you and you hosted.
Thank you. Thank you.
Have a nice day in Jesus.
I
love you, my dear.
Love you too, my dear.
Bye-bye.
Love you.
Nice.
So truly, you know, we've done what we have to do. And I'm happy that we've, you know, sensitized the public on not information that was new to them, but information that they just needed to remember.
Yes, you need the little
the remembrance.
Nudge.
Yes. And so we do hope that would have motivated you today to do what you ought to do in preparing for the hurricane season.
And of course, we hope and pray that we'll be protected and saved from any, you know, major storms. You know, that is always our hope and our prayer. Yes. And we steadfast in praying for that. But we do need to be realistic and prepare in the event that, so that is always important.
Thank you very much. So, again, from all of us here at the studios of QFM, we're saying to you, have a wonderful morning and remainder of the week. As always, your health is indeed your greatest resource. Preserve it. Have a good morning, everybody, and continue to take care of yourself and take care of others. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Woke up this morning feeling real stink. I had intentions to call it sick, but I end up in Jolly's pharmacy. Great and down the street, Jolly's fix up my immune system. Me feeling fit and strong now, I'm ready to work.